everybody, welcome to your first strength session. So this is Ian, he is a strength and conditioning coach, and he's going to talk us through some foundational exercises that we can use to build our strength program from. So we're going to start with squats, and Ian's going to talk us through a bit of setup and some things that you might be doing wrong. So I'll start over here and you can talk me through.
Right, hi everyone. Right, okay, first port of call when we start to do a squat, that many of you might not understand this or have been shown this before, is your starting position with your feet. So in an ideal world, you want to make sure that your feet are between shoulder and hip width apart. Find the natural gap of your hips or shoulders and make sure your feet are somewhere sort of in between. So they're sitting underneath your hips. That's the first part. Second part to this is the contact that your feet have got on the ground. So I would always recommend when you start doing squats to do it in socks or bare feet, so you get that idea of what sort of contact that you've got on the ground with your feet. So the first thing that you want to be doing is making sure that you've got lots of weight distribution onto your heels. Okay, so make sure you can feel the weight going back onto your heels. The second thing will be to make sure that your ball of your foot or your big toe is also in good contact with the ground. So that ensures then that you feel like your feet are flat and almost stuck to the ground. Okay, and what that will do is it will stabilise your knees. Okay. So from that point, so now your feet are nicely tucked into or nice and flat to the ground, okay? Your knees should be nicely in line, your feet are shoulder to hip width apart. And then in terms of from upper body, so from hips above, you want to try and keep fairly tall through the core up to the shoulders, and just try and soften the shoulders and draw them back so that you're not rounded through the back, okay? So to do a good squat, you want to make sure your chest is slightly open, you're not flaring the ribs, but your shoulders are drawn back. And then just as important is making sure that your head is looking up, okay? So your chin is up, okay? Because if you look down, then your back is going to round. So making sure your head is up. In terms of your hands, this is entirely up to you. You can either cross them across shoulders, you can bring them out in front of you, you can bring your hands together into the middle of your chest. It's entirely up to you which way you do this, but for this example, let's hug them into the middle of the chest, okay? So hug them there, that's fine. Right, so now as you're going down into the squat, start with a small squat, and then push through those heels as you come up. Okay, keep going on those small squats. So if you can see, so we'll go down to the chair. So if you put a chair behind you, as you can see in this, is that it just gives you a target to aim for, that you know that if, because you're putting so much weight through on the heels, if you can't keep your balance, then at least you're only going to sit down on the chair rather than fall backwards. But is to encourage you to put weight through the heels, is to make sure that you've got a chair there, your knees are remaining nice and stable as you're coming up and down. So you've got restricted and minimal movement of that knee rolling, okay? You don't want the knees to be rolling over in front of the toes, okay?
This is number 10.
Yeah, so do your 10 and come up.
Okay.
Okay.
Should we just, I just want to show people the option for the chair though. If you can't do a full squat, have a chair behind you or a table behind you. And Ian was showing me earlier that you can just go into a small squat. So your bottom just touches back and then you squeeze up again. But the important thing is squeezing the bottom, yeah? Is that right?
Yeah.
So they keep it smaller range. Make sure the knees aren't going forwards. I know there are some people on the group perhaps that don't want to do a full squat. You can even bring your feet a bit further forwards and make it a bigger squat, tap back and lift up. So that's your option. So we've got some sets of 10. We're going to come back to squats in a second. So we're going to move on next to press ups, and we've got a set of 10 press ups to do now. So should we start on knees?
Yeah, let's start on knees. Again, when you start doing press ups, you want to make sure that you get the basics right straight away. So your basics will include getting that good upper body position and keeping the hips nice and low to the ground. So you want to make sure that your shoulders are above your wrists, okay? You keep your hands fairly flat to the ground. You can spread your fingers out just slightly, and you want to relax the head. So from shoulders down to your hips, you should be nice and straight. So If you are on knees, I would bring your hips slightly lower, so drop your hips a little bit lower, that's it. So what happens is when your hips come lower is that you immediately have to engage that core, okay?
Yeah, because I wanted to do that then.
Yeah, so you don't want the lower back
So
to
you've got to
sink
keep the belly
in
in.
and drop, you want to make sure that you engage that core, keep the back straight, certainly from shoulders down to your hips, keep the hips fairly low to the ground, make sure your shoulders are above your wrists, keep the head nice and still, and then press through those arms. And when you start to do press-ups, it doesn't matter what depth that you can go to. Even if you're moving 2 or 3 inches, it's just getting that motion of starting to press that body weight away. Okay.
And what happens if this is too much for somebody? Could they bring their knees a bit closer?
So
in
you
like
can
this?
bring your knees a bit closer
And that
if you need
takes
to.
all of the weight.
Yeah. And then it lessens that engagement of the core, but at the same time it makes it slightly easier for you to press through the upper body. But otherwise, hips low, shoulders above the wrists, and you work to the depth that you can manage. So if you can go all the way, more or less getting chest down towards as low to the floor as possible, that's getting that full range. So it's bringing in, engaging all those shoulder, chest and arm muscles all to work together.
Okay,
Okay.
that's 10. Okay,
There's
so
your
we're going
10.
to come back to those in a second. So we've got hip hinges next.
Okay, right, so the third one with hip hinges, this is slightly different. So whereas a squat, we're encouraging to bend through the legs and come up. With a hip hinge, you're trying to lean over with a straight back and less bend through the legs. Okay, so you want your hamstrings, which are your backs of your legs, to be fairly tight. Okay, so again, you get your feet hip width apart, hip to shoulder width apart. Get that good contact in the ground, like we said about the heels and the ball of the foot. Bring your arms out in front of you for the purpose of this one and just start to tip over with a straight back.
So soft knees, lock knees.
So you want soft knees,
Okay.
always soft knees, and then you're going
send
to
the
lean
bottom
forwards.
back.
Yeah, send the bottom back, keep the back nice and straight, and then what you'll find is your hamstrings will tighten up as you come over.
And then squeeze the bottom as you come
Yeah,
up.
and then as you come up, you don't want to go into a full extension with hips forwards, but you want to keep keep yourself upright, but without popping the hips too far forwards. Okay. And what will happen then is as you come up and down, that you'll keep that engagement in the hamstrings, in the back of those legs. And by keeping that engagement is just keeping the muscles nice and tense.
And
so
what
that
I find is
tension
if
for
I go
longer.
too far, I round.
Yeah.
So that's wrong, yeah?
Yeah,
I want to
so
keep
that's
the
right.
back,
So
the
you
back
need to
flat.
keep the back pretty straight.
Okay.
And that requires you to draw the shoulders back as you lean over. Okay, because if you lose the shoulders, that will happen and you'll round. So keep pulling the shoulders back and then come up and down. Again, good contact with the feet onto the floor, tight hamstrings, so you keep them under tension for a slightly longer. Pull the shoulders back, straight back. And in terms of the head, you can just pop the head forwards as long as your eyes are fixed to something on the ground as you come up and down. So
sort
you
of
keep
it
that
in
sense
line-
of balance
in line with the spine.
and in line with the
I
spine.
think that's 10.
So 10.
Okay, so guys, what we're going to do now is we've done the first round of all the exercises. So those are your 3 exercises for this week. We're going to go through quickly now and do your reps. So you've done 10 of each, and we're going to go through together and do our next sets of 10. Okay.
Yeah.
So squats first. So you'll just correct me as I go.
Yeah.
Shout out some pointers. So we've got
Okay.
10 squats.
10 squats.
So small or big?
Right. Here we go.
Ooh, that's my balance for that one.
So lots of weight. So nice weight back onto the heels. Good distribution of weight onto the heels. Toes are nicely grounded. The ball of the foot is grounded. Back is nice and straight.
And what
Head
sort of
is looking
speed
at-
am I doing?
So I would say it's
Count.
entirely up to you, but maybe a slow countdown of 1, 2, and up for 2. 2 second lower, 2 second up. It doesn't matter if you speed them up just slightly. It doesn't matter if you slow them down, maybe 3 seconds. The longer that you're under tension in those legs again, the slower that it is, the harder it will become.
Okay, I've got 2 to go.
2 to go. That's it. Make sure that backside's coming out.
Okay.
Pushing through those
I'm
heels.
definitely not the best squatter in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to
Into
press
press
ups.
ups. Right, so body set up, shoulders above wrists, back straight, hips low, head still, and then keep your hands nice and flat. Good bend through those elbows, controlling that body weight down and up, and finding the best depth that you can manage. And breathing patterns as well. We haven't discussed breathing patterns, but ideally you want to breathe out on effort. So your effort for a press up really is on the way up, okay? So if you can breathe out as you press away from the ground. As long as you're breathing, you've got a rhythm of breathing, that's the most important thing. But
And that's 10.
okay. Right, now into hinges.
Hinges. Okay.
Right, hinges, again, feet shoulder width apart, lean forwards, arms out, hinge over. That's it, keep the hamstrings nice and tight. So there's not much bend coming through the knees if you notice, but they're soft. The knees are soft, so you're not straightening out. Nice lean forwards, good straight back.
My shoulders would really love to roll forward, so I'm working quite hard to keep them
Yeah,
back.
so you've got to keep drawing those shoulders back the whole time to keep the back straight.
So we've got 3 to go. So do these in your own time. You can absolutely pause the video if you're ahead or behind. This is your last one.
Okay, there's your 10.
Okay, and
Right.
final set of squats.
Yeah, right, now we'll go back into 3, so we'll do all these back to back again. So into your 10 squats.
Good.
Good, so knees solid, feet in good contact with the ground. A good bend through those legs. You're looking for rough right angles if you can. If you can get 90 degrees into the legs, that's great, but you go to the depth that you can manage, always. Head is up, you don't need to look down at your feet. Make sure your knees are not rolling over your toes.
Yeah, I see that quite a lot. People going down
Yeah,
kind of
so
knees forwards.
your
it's
knees
backwards,
need to be really, really solid.
back onto your chair.
So yeah, use the chair, or use a chair that you've got to hand in order for you to put the weight on the heels and fall back if necessary.
Press ups.
Right, press ups, set 3, shoulders above wrists, hips low, head still, engage the shoulders. And then you get whatever bend that you can manage through those arms. Good. In terms of the lower limbs, you can just relax the feet and knees to the floor. You can bring your legs a bit wider if you need to. You can cross your feet at the back if you need to. You
I
just
quite
need
like
to go
as
where it's
well.
comfortable.
I quite like a little tuck of the tail to keep the belly on.
Yeah,
And I also quite like a pull back of the armpits to keep my shoulders out of my ears.
yeah.
One more here, I
Good.
think. And okay, so final set of hinges. We were going to do slightly differently, weren't we? We were going to do single leg.
Yeah.
So it's an option. You can do double leg if you prefer.
So single leg is just a bit more balance involved now. So what I would say is just ground one of your toes into the floor to start off with and split your stance slightly. Bring those arms out in front of you and then reach down towards the ground with a single leg hinge.
So similar kind of range as before.
Yeah. So again, you're keeping the working leg soft through the knee. The opposite leg is just coming up to roughly about hip height as you draw it up, and it tightens up the hamstring. You're still keeping that back straight. That's it, and you're reaching forward. You're trying to reach and keep that balance and keep that engagement through the back of the legs and keeping the hips strong.
And you could, I guess, hold on to
Yeah,
something
you
and
can
do
always
this.
hold on to a door. You can hold on to a chair, and obviously you can just stick to the normal version, hip hinge version, which is just both feet on the ground if you need to.
I'm swapping legs.
Right, swap legs. So final 10.
And I find for balance, it's always useful just to stare at one point, really find your focal point, and it helps you with your balance.
Yeah,
But also breathe and don't forget to use your tummy.
yeah, yeah.
Shoulders
it.
back.
Shoulders back. Keep those arms loose. And again, making sure that foot is in good contact with the ground. You're pushing the weight through the heels.
Does it matter how high your back leg goes? Should it be like a pendulum, or can you leave it a bit lower?
You
if
can
you're-
leave it a bit lower for those if you've got limited range, it will be lower, but ideally you want to bring it up to around about hip height because it will tighten up the hamstring as you lean. As you
Lovely.
hinge, it tightens up the hamstring, so it just makes you work a bit harder.
Brilliant. Okay, that's the last one.
Okay.
Excellent, thank
Right,
you. That's
well
our
done.
first foundational exercise routine. So give it a go, let me know how you get on.
Yeah.